Hello, welcome back to another Tabletop Talk. It's been quite a while since I've done a video, so I thought I would talk a little bit about what I've been doing lately. Bit of a update on the channel and talk a bit about APBA baseball, which is what I've been doing lately. And so this will be kind of a ramble because I haven't talked in a while, so hopefully this will be interesting to everybody. So, again, I've been playing quite a bit of APBA baseball, getting into that, trying to figure out how I like to play that. So I'll talk about that a little bit, and we'll go from there. So before I get into that, I've been working a little bit on some paraphernalia, which, as you know from my other videos, is kind of important. So I've kind of duded up my dice tower. I figured out how to you can buy these round stickers, and then obviously, you know, with a template you can make different designs. So I'm going with some mojo here with the old school trademark thing. So you got the Breakfast of Champions here with Lefty Grove and Topps Baseball, Dr. Pepper. Then some APBA replay, Spalding Ball, 700 WLW, which is was the radio station I listened to the Reds as a kid, Marty and Joe. And then Marathon, which I always remember the commercials. I don't remember why on the radio. And then some Negro Leagues, some Jackie Robinson bread. So kind of duded up my dice tower. And again, little things like that go a long way to kind of help you stay in the mood. And so I did that. And I also been working on doing this. So what I did is that you can buy, these are just 2-inch wood things, and then I bought a little sticker magnet, all that from Amazon, print them out. So this is like 2 inches, and it's not, they're both 2 inches. It's not exactly, so the stickers go over just a little bit, but still, you know, they're not terribly sturdy, but they look nice. And then so I can kind of do like a leaderboard. Got a little bit of my mojo there. This is the 1969 All-Star game logo. So the game currently I got going on is the Pilots at California. And so as you can see, you know, again, you just do that, and whoever's playing, and it just really, you know, you can get the logos from Baseball Reference, which I use a lot. And so anyway, kind of, this is just a dry erase magnet board, and so I got that for 1969. Oop. And then I also have some 1946 going on, so I did that. And even got the American. I got a little bit more room on this board, so again, really adds a little bit to the fun. And so just something kind of fun that I've did to add a little bit of mojo again. Then I also use them to doll up my APBA envelopes a little bit, and so again, not terribly expensive. And you know, with wood round things, you can put them on that, and you know, again, do quite a few different things with them. So something fun that I have kind of duded up my area a little bit. And again, things like that go a long way. At least it does for me. You know, when you go through, when you play a lot of replays and games, you know, sometimes it can get a little monotonous. So little things like that just kind of put you in the mood, and also kind of put you in the vibe of the thing. You know, part of this is imagining reliving these games and things like that. So, you know, visuals can go a long way to help you to get in the spirit of the thing. So again, been doing that, playing APBA baseball pretty much exclusively the last few months. Been trying to figure out exactly how I like to play it. I like the basic. The basic. The thing about APBA baseball is that it's doesn't take a lot of thinking. The game goes pretty quick, and that you can get through games, relatively quickly, and so it's a lot of fun. Now the problem I was having with is that I was just really struggling with the left-right split. So uh, the master game is wonderful, and the last video I did, or one of the last videos I did, was with Tebow, and we walked through that. And again, it's good, but again, for what APBA does for me, it just wasn't. It was too much work. Again, the thing that APBA does that my other games don't do is that it doesn't take a lot of brain power. You basically just roll the dice, get the results, and move on. And that's what I like about APBA. So when you get into the master version, I'm obviously getting away from that. And but the left-right splits, especially the further you get closer to now, when you get into the 70s and the 80s, they the left to right splits are a big deal, and in baseball, and so I was just missing them. So I tried, ABBA is you any game with the history that it has, when you start getting into it, there's a lot of paths you can go, a lot of things to learn, a lot more than, it really surprised me, the different kinds, the different things you can do. And so I know, like, you got your basic boards here, and you got the master version boards, but there's been a lot of created ones like the Oz boards, and there's Duval boards, and so all those were great. But the problem is that it does the left-right splits, but then you have to, I know, like I think the Oz boards, you have to still calculate, like, sacrifice flies, and I just didn't want to do that. Again, I like, for the results, when I roll, I like the results to tell me, if he's fast, I want the fast and the slow to play into it. They're different abilities, but I don't want to have to calculate it. And so I tried the Oz boards, and I can't remember the names of some of the other ones, but they all, I couldn't find one that had the the pitcher ratings, that, but and just what I would have liked is the master 1 through 11, and then the basic 12 through 42. I couldn't find that. Every one of them had at least on sacrifice flies, where you had to calculate the speed and the arm and all that. And again, I just didn't want to mess with that. I like it when the results. So what I figured out was, and this works out really well for me anyway. I kind of made this little homemade thing. So the pitchers, look at Gene Brawbender here. You can see the hitters, actually. They've got a rating versus lefties and versus righties, and then the pitchers have a number. And so, like, Brawbender is a 7, so that would make him, you can see there in the C. And then, so if you get a hitter, we'll get Tommy Davis here. So Brawbender is a righty, so versus righties, he's -5, and so not great. You can't see that too well, but anyway, so -5. So minus means that he's not as good. So that means you add to Brawbender. So if he was facing Tommy Davis, again, righty versus righty, you add 5 to Brawbender's 7, which would make him a 12. So versus Davis, that would make him a B, because he's 12. Now, if Tommy Davis was facing a lefty, that's +6. So you would take, if Brawbender was a lefty, you'd take 6 off of his 7, which would make him a 1, which would make him a D. So if Brawbender was a lefty, Davis hits lefties much better. That would drop him down to a D. And so again, that's kind of, at least for me, a simple way to get the left-right splits without, again, slowing things down too much for me. So basically, when they come up to bat, I just switch and help me remember what I got as far as what the pitcher's rating is. And again, that works out very well for me. Because again, the left-right splits are a big deal, and I just find that I was missing that, especially again when you get into seasons like '69 now and '46 or 1921. It wasn't as big a deal, and I wasn't missing it as much because the managers really didn't play that a lot. They pretty much, if they had a good hitter, they would put him up, no matter who was pitching, lefty or righty. There was some of it, but not nearly like there is as you get into, relief pitchers being kind of a specialty. And so, again, especially seasons like '69, I found that I was missing that. So for me, this really does a good job of kind of giving me that lefty-righty splits without slowing the game down or bogging it down where I have to do, calculating. And again, I just didn't want to do that. So this works out for me. Now, most of the lefty-righty splits aren't as exaggerated as Davis's. He's got a pretty big swing. Most of them are like -1, -2, and so generally speaking, it doesn't make that much difference. Broadbender, he's a 7. Most of the time, you're going to stay a C because a 7's kind of in the middle. Now, if you get like a 6, then that's going to bump him down to D probably more. But when you're in the middle of the thing, generally speaking, the splits aren't as drastic as Davis's are. But again, that was because in real life, Tommy Davis did much better versus lefties, and so this allows me to take that into account. So like when I'm bringing in relievers, it makes a difference. Now you're not getting the lefty righty splits for the pitchers, so it's not perfect, but again, APBA is, it's not as detailed. Things like wild pitches aren't based on, at least in the basic version, aren't based on, real life wild pitch ratings. Pass balls, even stolen bases aren't based on, real ratings, and I'm okay with that. Again, in a season, a lot of things can happen, and the numbers are kind of baked in. I mean, even the errors. Now I am doing the advanced fielding to where it's based on the individual. So I made this little chart here. So you can see, like a left fielder, if their rating is 1, that makes them put them in the 3, 2. So if it's a 15 or a 30 on the result, then you will look at the individual. And then there's some ratings where it's based on, the team rating. So like 21, 22, 24, 25, 29, 33, and 34, those are all kind of infield ratings. And so you got like an infield rating, and then you've got an overall team rating. And so if it's results that aren't these or these, then you go to the overall rating. And again, I am doing that. And again, it's not nearly as detailed as, Strat or, inside pitch or even APBA master version. But I'm okay with that. Again, this is giving me a, the defensive ratings. When I play this, I use Stratomatic PC to input my stats. So one advantage to that is that I get to see on the computer Stratomatic's ratings, defensive ratings, and speed ratings, and kind of compare them with APBA's speed ratings. And I haven't seen anything real crazy in APBA. There's been some disagreement with Strat's ratings, but I've played some other games that the defensive ratings just make no sense to me whatsoever, and they're just in my opinion wrong, to the point where it makes it hard for me to enjoy the game. But with APBA, their defensive ratings, again, they're more generic. They're not real detailed. So obviously on the outfielder, you just got a basic rating. And so their error ratings, their range rating, their arm ratings are all baked into that one rating. Whereas in Strat, you've got, ratings for all different ratings for all three of those skill sets. So again, APBA is a bit generic, more generic, but the defense ratings do come into play. And I know people like Roberto Clemente is a 3, which is the best you can be. And so again, the ratings have been decent. Again, my knowledge of baseball history, nothing too crazy. A couple of them. It's like, well, I'm not for sure, but still, not to the point where it's just like not to the point where I don't think these people have any idea on how to rate people. And again, I've got a game or two where it's just I can't play the game because the defensive ratings are just so poorly done, or don't make no sense whatsoever. Again, it may fit the results, but it doesn't represent the player. And so for me, APBA, the ratings, again, have been pretty good. Good enough that they seem to be in the realm of possibility. Another thing that I'm finding with APBA that I really like, and I've mentioned this in other videos, and Strat is my favorite baseball game. But one of the things that I don't like about Strat is that the rare plays are so rare and generic, and it kind of gets a little monotonous when you play a lot of games. So you just basically ground out, double, and you don't get unusual things. There is some, but it's just not much. Whereas in APBA, I find that and it's built into the board. So again, one reason I really like APBA baseball is that again, it's simple, the flow is easy. So in APBA, you don't even have to go to a rare play chart. It's built into the boards, and unusual things happen, and they seem to happen in a way that isn't overdone. Sometimes it's just like they're happening too much, or that's too rare, and that, so something that's really rare happens a lot. I'm not seeing that. It feels like baseball. So one of the advantages, to this is that, like, it'll, when Strat, you have to decide, or other games for that matter, you have to decide whether, to take the extra base or not. And so generally speaking, if the chances are low, you're not going to do it. So, most of the time you don't get a lot of weird, unusual things. Whereas with the results baked in here, that person going for the extra base or trying to steal or get caught stealing at a bad time, those things are baked in. And so, some unusual, even what you might consider boneheaded things, like somebody getting thrown out at third, to make the third out. You would never do that. At least I wouldn't. When I'm playing a game where I can make that decision. Whereas, here, with the results baked in, a guy going for third and getting thrown out, that happens in real life baseball, so it happens here. And so, it keeps the game interesting because, things like no hitters and 4 home runs in a game, those things are rare and fun. But things like, a guy getting thrown out, at third to make the third out, those are exciting too. I know I had a game, it was the Twins at Kansas City Royals. It was actually the Royals' first game ever in 1969. The game ended on a dropped third strike, and they was able to get the runner out at first, but the guy from the runner from second was able to score. And so, again, that's really unusual, and you might say, well, that would never happen, but it really could. Uh, you know, um, let's say that the ball got away from the catcher, the guy on second goes all the way to third, and he, rounds third quite a bit further, and the catcher's not thinking he's going to, or not paying attention to him, and he throws to first. The guy breaks for home. And so before the first baseman can get it back to home, the guy scores and the game's over, and so that was really unusual, exciting. And so, things like that. And again, it's not a rare play chart. It's not an extra thing that you have to do to get the result. It's the result. It's the same thing as if he just flied out to left, the result is baked in. And so, I find that when I play a lot of games, that things like that keep it interesting. And again, it feels like real life baseball to me. And again, when I'm not making the decisions, guys getting caught stealing and things like that. Matter of fact, it was the Cubs and Phillies, and it was the bottom of the ninth, and the Cubs, they were in Chicago, and they tried to double steal, and the guy got thrown out at home. So, it was the deal where the guy it was first and third, and the guy at first went to second, and so the catcher threw it, and the second baseman caught it through home and nailed the guy at the plate. And again, that sounds like a Leo DeRocher type thing. And again, I never would have tried that myself. Again, I would just be waiting for a hit. But again, the guy got thrown out of home. They ended up, the guy at second ended up scoring on a single, and they won the game anyway. But again, that was exciting, fun, something that and again, something I remember. I'm sitting here doing this off my head. And so these are just a couple things that happened in, my 1969 replay that are, fun, exciting, and again, I don't think would never have happened in another sim. And again, I didn't even have to go to an extra chart. It's built in, so the flow is just really good. And then I also had my first no-hitter in APBA. So it was the second game of the San Diego Padres, who weren't very good that year. I printed off the box score. And Larry Durker threw a no-hitter. He came just one walk shy of a perfect game. He walked downtown Ollie Brown in the fifth. Brown was erased on a 6-4-3 double play. So he faced the minimum amount of batters. But so I got my first no-hitter in APBA. That was fun. I never had a perfect game, so that was as close as I've ever got. Again, he was just one walk from a perfect game, but he did face the minimum. So, so anyway, those are some things that, and so again, I'm getting my lefty-righty splits in, doing the individual fielding, which again, it's not as detailed. The errors, again, are kind of based on, but not exactly. But, again, they're kind of baked into the cards, so you probably, and again, I haven't played enough APBA to say this for sure. Those of you who have, feel free to chime in on the comments. But you're probably going to get pretty close to the right amount of wild pitches and balks and errors because they're kind of baked into the cards. So, again, they're not, but, they are tied into the ratings because, again, if you're a 2 center fielder, you're going to get less errors than if you're a 1. But again, the wild pitches, they're kind of baked into the card, so the amount of wild pitches should be pretty close. And again, it gives you a kind of a variable. Again, they're hitting, they're pitching, and somewhat their fielding is pretty representative, but it's just not down to the nitty gritty where you got a wild pitch rating, and I'm not terribly worried if a guy who never had a wild pitch has one in a replay. Um, again, or if a guy who, didn't like, a pitcher had no errors and he has one or two in the replay, again, things like that really don't bother me. Again, it's just baseball. If you replayed, if you had the ability to replay a season, in real life with exact players, exact conditions, the results would be marketably different, just because, that's just the way baseball is. So, again, it gives you kind of a variable of difference within the realm of reality, that, again, doesn't bother me. And to me, it actually adds a little bit of excitement and unusual. So, again, I'm finding that I'm enjoying that aspect very much. Um, I prefer these are the modern version of the cards. APBA cards. They've got the master symbols. As you can tell, I'm using the pitcher rating and the lefty righty splits for the batters. But I do have a few. Let's see if I can grab one here of the 70s and 80s. There's a kind of an allure and a charm to them. So, like, here's my 1983 San Francisco Giants. These have kind of an allure to them that I enjoy. So I've got a few sets of these, and I prefer these because they've got the symbols that I need and everything. But these a lot of these seasons come with the master symbols on the side, and so they have just a single. Instead of having like a versus a lefty versus a righty splits, it's, as I understand it, it's basically just how they do against the opposite. Like if they're a righty, how they do against lefties. Not as detailed, but still the lefty-righty splits come into play. The biggest problem with just the single splits is the switch hitters. They don't really represent the variance between a switch hitter as well. But again, you can still get some of the lefty-righty splits into your play. So I've got a few of these sets. I've got like 1919, and again the lefty-righty splits were much less of a big deal in 1919. So the older seasons I tend to go with these more. Again, this is 83. I mentioned this before. Tony at used to be Cards and Dice TV. I forget what he's changed his channel to, but he did a really good video about the allure of the APBA card, and I'm finding that to be true for me. At first I thought it was silly that they had their birth date and their weight and height and the city they were born. But I'm finding that I really enjoy that. I like having it. It makes the cards much more personable. The thing about cards and dice for me is, it's tangible. It's something in your hands, and you just can't replicate that. When on a computer, when I do PC only, it just quickly becomes just pushing buttons. And it doesn't have that tangible real life feel. So when I have cards and dice, it makes it much more tangible. But this actually makes each card more of a kind of a human being. And so I can see their height and weight and their, again, if I know the player, which most of the time I do, their race, where they're from. And again, I'm finding that makes the cards more individual and more personable, if that makes any sense. And so I'm finding that is a deal for me, bigger than I thought it would be at first. So anyway, I prefer these, but I like these too. There's an allure to them, and then kind of even a nostalgia, because again, these cards were printed in '85, so they're, what is that, 30 years? Actually pushing 40. Wow. So, and I don't do these envelopes up like I do the new ones because they just kind of look good. I mean, then they were able to do the name and National League. I think in the late 80s they switched to where they had to do like junior circuit and senior circuit, things like that. And another thing I am doing is one thing, besides the lefty-righty splits, the home runs was bothering me. A pitcher who, gave up very few home runs was, everything was equal. So they have on the, like Broadbender, for example, is an L. They have a rating in the master symbols that, a guy who didn't give up many home runs that will be representative. So I think I found this on Delphi Forum. So basically, if a guy's an H, he doesn't give up a lot of home runs. So if H gives up a home run, you roll the dice, and 11 through 46, that turns that home run into the highest double on the chart. And conversely, if they give up a lot of home runs, like the M is the worst, you roll 11 through 34, and the double becomes a home run, assuming that the hitter has a 1 on their card. And so that was another thing for me. So the lefty-righty splits and giving up home runs, this is a way to do that on the basic game that I use. I had to remember. I kept checking. I kept forgetting to check doubles. I would remember the home run. If somebody hit a home run, I would remember to check to see, but I kept forgetting if somebody hit a double. But I'm getting better at that. So, again, if somebody hits a double, then if they're an L or an M, then you have to check to see if that's turned into a home run, assuming that the batter has a 1 on their card. And so, again, that, that was something that I was missing, and I was glad I was able to find a fix for that, to where that I could, have that particular aspect of a pitcher's abilities, that would be represented into the game. And so that's kind of what I did, and it's working out really well for me. So, again, mostly basic with a few little twists. And I'm really enjoying, this. Trying to get to the point where I'm really can focus on a replay. I've been doing the last few years a lot of experimenting, as you can tell from my channel, and just trying to settle into something and play and get something done and completed. So again, I just always have the allure of a full season replay where I'm playing every game. That's a big challenge, a time thing. I mean, it takes a year or two to do something like that for the amount of time that most of us have. And I would like to do something like that. So that's what I'm aiming toward. This current situation, this current way I'm playing APBA, seems like a doable thing, an enjoyable thing. And so right now I'm working on 69. We'll see how far I get. Again, 46. I also got, I think I'm into the middle of April on that. So just trying to, keep it interesting. I have the 1972 set. So I'm working on like a Nolan Ryan, just doing his game. So I'm like 3 or 4 games into that. So, just trying to find something and settle on it. And so, this seems like a good thing, and enjoying it very well, and using Strat as my stat inputter. And they've got the rosters and everything, as played lineups and everything already built in. Somebody asked me why I use Strat, and the main reason is that I'm familiar with it. I'm sure the other ones like Replay and especially Digital Diamond, I think is what it is. I might be wrong. But I mean, that one is $20 you get every season. and I have messed around with that a little bit, but again, I'm just familiar with Strat, and I have Strat, and so that's the reason I'm using that. So, so that's kind of what I've been doing. Been debating on whether to broadcast some games or not. I know that sometimes that can get a little monotonous, and there's not as many people enjoy watching the games as they enjoy videos like this. Just talking and informational and reviews and unboxings and things like that. Most of the time, to be completely honest, I just prefer playing the game. Having to put on the paraphernalia and the video cameras and everything to get the game on. Sometimes it's just a lot more enjoyable just to play the game. But I do know that there are some who enjoy, watching the games. Not as many, but I know I enjoy watching, some games, especially with, whatever game you're happening to be playing. So I might do a game or two, kind of just showing off, how I'm doing the basic, and again, nothing earth shattering, but it's working out for me. And I haven't seen too many people who do it quite like this. It's usually either basic or master or Oz boards, or I think Ventura is another one of the boards, and maybe the same. But not too many people kind of do this hybrid this way. I know APBA Brian did something where if it was so much, he would change it to the next level. But I don't think it was based on their actual numbers and the batters' ratings. So this is a little bit more involved. So anyway, I might try to get a couple games up just to, again, for those who do like that kind of thing. So there you have it. I appreciate all the comments and concerns about me being away. Again, I'm still loving the hobby. Been pretty active on Facebook and, putting in some Delphi forum stuff. Still playing a lot of games. Just kind of have been taking a break from the YouTube aspect of it. So I do appreciate everybody's, wanting to check in on me. Everything's fine. Again, doing some, still loving the hobby, enjoying it, just taking a break from YouTube, but thought I would check in and let you know what I've been doing and some thoughts on what I've been doing. And so as usual, any comments are appreciated, and I will see you next time.